Today, in the company of Dawn Foster from Jacobin magazine in the red corner, and in the blue corner, Talk Radio's very own Patrick Christys. Dawn, should Labour bring back Tony Blair?
Absolutely not. I think if you actually look at any polling, you can see that Tony Blair is probably the only politician who's at the moment more unpopular than Jeremy Corbyn. I think there's a strange obsession with the fact that he won in 1997, but obviously we're in a very, very different political place now. And there are people in Labour who can't really get over the fact that we won in 1997 and wish we were still there. And it's this strange kind of nostalgia and this absolute obsession with the fact that they can't move on. I think we do, I think people on the left do need to accept that times have changed and they need to change. And if we are going to win again, we need to accept that the 2008 financial crash happened, austerity happened. We need a new leader. We don't need to keep looking at 1997 and getting
now, Dawn, is this breaking news? Are you suggesting when you say we need a new leader that Keir Starmer must go?
I think so. I think he's been really, really pathetic. And, I think Saturday night, Labour had a number of good headlines. And, Keir Starmer could have focused on them. He could have praised Andy Burnham. He could have praised Welsh Labour. And instead, he decided to go for factional warfare. I think Keir Starmer has been awful. If you look at his polling, he's currently polling worse than Jeremy Corbyn was. And I think that we do need a new leader because, at the moment, if you actually look at Keir Starmer, all he does is provoke fights and try to appease the right wing of the party, which he's failing to do, while really, really upsetting the left of the party, which he's very, very good at.
Well, you're very well connected to the Labour movement, Dawn. Who would be on your list for next leader?
I think it's probably going to be Andy Burnham, to be honest. He probably wasn't very good in 2015, but he has learned a lot as the mayor of Manchester, and he has become very, very sharp. He has learned how to actually bring different wings of the party together. And, if you actually look at the video that he put together after he won on Saturday, it was very, very sharp, very, very clever, very, very smart. And I think that he has learned a lot being the mayor of Manchester, and he could actually bring together different wings of the party. So I think it's probably going to be Andy Burnham.
Dawn, educate me. Would you describe him as centre ground?
I think he has been centre ground in the past, but he has also got a left-wing bone in his body, unlike Keir Starmer, and he has the ability to appeal to the left wing. He understands what the left wing of the party wants, and he understands when left-wing policies will work, and he will bring them in, I think.
But what would you logistically have to do? I mean, he'd have to find a seat somewhere. There would be a by-election. He's not going to give up the mayoralty of Manchester, Greater Manchester, anytime soon.
No, but also what could happen is that Labour could change their rules at party conference. The Labour Party conference is very different to the Conservative Party conference because they regularly have motions where they change rules of the party. So that could happen in probably the same way that the DUP are currently considering changing their rules to allow MPs to stand. So it could be the opposite of what the DUP want to do.
So what would happen? Andy Burnham would become leader until the next election, whilst being mayor?
Yeah, possibly.
And then run against Boris Johnson with obviously based upon a constituency somewhere. And then at that point, he's leader of the opposition in the House after the election.
Yeah. If Boris Johnson stays in place.
What do you think? I mean, that's a very interesting idea. I mean, Patrick, could Tony Blair make the souffle rise twice?
I think Tony Blair has said the Labour Party needs a total deconstruction to be successful again. I mean, he would know a thing or two about total deconstruction given the number he did on Baghdad, won't he? I think if the rebuilding effort is anything to go by that he did over there, then it probably wouldn't be long before the Labour Party was full of violent people who wanted to destroy this country, although now you mention it. I can't believe that Blair is even being considered. The only time I want to hear from him is when he's accounting for his actions in The Hague, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought it was absolutely outrageous, the idea that Tony Blair or even Alistair Campbell, frankly, have still got a say in politics on this country. They would need to use a lot of alcoholic hand gel to wash the blood off their hands, as far as I'm concerned. But a man who started student debt fiasco with education, in no small part caused the current housing crisis by taxing pensions, so everyone put their money in buy-to-let properties. The damage that man has done to this country is unreal. And he's on the wrong side of popular opinion now every single time again, Brexit being the key issue. Now, it's a damning indictment of where the Labour Party is at today for me, that we're even having this discussion about Tony Blair's return. And it shows one thing that shines through like the sun on a clear day, which is the Labour Party has no idea how to appeal to its voters. Nobody in Hartlepool is going to switch back to Labour because Blair's back. In fact, I don't even think he could walk the streets there. One thing I will say about Burnham, just touching on that point, is he wants to be very careful what he wishes for, because actually at the moment he would have to be judged on his qualities as leader of the job he's done as Greater Manchester's mayor. And he's the only man that I know who ran on a ticket of removing homelessness while increasing homelessness twofold. But Burnham's track record is not particularly great either.
David Aranovich has written, Dawn, in today's Times newspaper, saying that Labour cannot win on their own ever again, and they will have to make an electoral pact, and there would have to be a coalition government between Labour, the SNP, and potentially the Lib Dems. What do you think about that? Can Labour win on their own ever again?
I think they possibly could. I think they would have to change the current leadership. I think that a coalition with the SNP is possibly in the wings, but Labour will have to actually start speaking properly to the SNP in Scotland rather than constantly trying to do them down up there. But yeah, I think that is a very, very real possibility. But I think if Labour do ever want to win on their own again and hold the government on their own again, they have to completely rethink what they're doing, and they have to properly start having some policies rather than doing a Keir Starmer and trying to win votes with absolutely nothing essentially in their pockets, and trying to get people to vote for them on the basis of absolutely nothing. They stand for nothing at the moment, and so people don't vote for them, and you're never ever going to get a government if you don't put things forward. And so I think if you carry on like that, then the only chance you have to get in power is if the Conservatives are massively unpopular, and you then rely on the SNP to try and prop you up in power.
The problem you have, of course, Patrick, is if Labour are reliant on the support of the SNP, then at the next election, that writes the Conservatives' campaign message, doesn't it? A vote for Labour is a vote for Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah, no, look, 100%. And I think that to touch on what we were saying there about the idea of Labour not being able to win on their own again, that's very much a problem for Labour. You know, people talk about, well, we need to reevaluate our voting system. No, we don't. Labour needs to get a lot better. And the fact is that as long as you don't embrace the flag of this country, you talk about whether or not you want to abolish the monarchy, you take a knee for things like Black Lives Matter, and you're obsessed with LGBTQ plus issues, you will not win a mass public vote in this country. And that's what you're being asked to take part in, isn't it? So look, if you know the fertile territory that's there, why not play to it a little bit and not get obsessed with these micro issues? And the idea as well that just obtaining a majority would make it a more functional government, just obtaining a majority through some kind of like Frankenstein coalition of weirdo lefties would make it a better functioning country is an absolute nonsense, right? They couldn't agree with each other. You know, they can't agree within their own parties, let alone the idea that the Greens and the Lib Dems and the SNP and Labour are going to be able to form a functioning government. It would be absolute, complete and utter chaos.
Patrick, brilliant stuff. As always, Patrick returns to Talk Radio on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and the wonderful Dawn Foster from Jacobin